Helpful for life.
After the oven, we've got the stovetop. There are different types of stovetops, so we will give you different tips for each of them. Regardless of the type of stove you have, make sure to clean the back panel and the controls in addition to the horizontal part of the stove. Cleaning these are pretty straightforward, so we'll be brief. Use warm soapy water or a spray cleaner that is suited to the material that you are cleaning. Make sure to clean the knobs. You can actually remove those a lot of times to get behind them and better clean the knobs themselves. Also make sure to clean the vertical piece and the little border bordering the stove if you have those. First, we'll talk about the smooth, flat top cooktops. In case you aren't aware, these are made of a mixture of glass and ceramic. So if you hear ceramic cooktop or glass cooktop, they both refer to this type of stove. This type of stove is a little easier than a gas stove to give a quick wipe down, but spots and messes really show on them. Plus, since those spills often happen right on top of the heating element, that mess can get baked on, which makes it a little tougher to clean sometimes than a gas stove. There are two main ways people clean this type of cooktop, the natural way and the store-bought cleaner way. Regardless of which way you choose, make sure to clean the cooktop when it is cooled. We don't want you hurting yourself. For the natural way, first, use a damp towel or sponge to wipe away any crumbs or foodstuffs. Then, sprinkle baking soda all over the cooktop. While you're doing this, soak some towels in hot, soapy water. Then, you'll wring out those towels so that they're damp, not soaking, and you'll lay them out so they completely cover the cooktop. Let those towels sit on there for at least 10 minutes so the hot water and baking soda can work their magic. Then you'll grab all those towels and wipe off all that crap off of the stove. As you're doing that step, you may feel or see some spots that are particularly tough or rough. For these, the best and easiest solution is to take a scraper to them. Then use an additional towel or sponge to wipe the surface completely clean. Of course, you may have to repeat this soak, scrape, and wipe a few times to get it clean, but you'll get that job done. I just know it. And finally, the last step is to buff it nice, clean, and shiny with a dry, clean cloth. For the store-bought cleaner way, you'll first start with a damp towel to wipe away all those crumbs and foodstuffs. You could also use a store-bought cleaner for this step. Look for the ones that are labeled as a daily cleaner. It's best to use one that's specifically made for a stovetop, but some multi-surface sprays will work as well. They also have wipes for this sort of thing if that's your jam. Many claim that ammonia-based cleaners can leave an iridescent film on the cooktop when heat is applied, and iridescent is just a fancy way of saying it looks kind of rainbowy. This may not matter if you do the next cleaning step, or of course if you just don't care. So after you've done the initial wipe down, if it's wet, give it a quick dry. Then you're going to give a couple of squirts of that heavy-duty cooktop cleaner. It doesn't take much, so just do a little S pattern or give a couple drops here and there. You can always add more if needed. Next, you'll scrub across the entire cooktop, paying specific attention to any tough areas. They have pads made specifically for this. Just buy a cleaning pack the first time you're going to clean, and you'll be good to go. Of course, you could use some other scrubbers or sponges. Just make sure not to use anything too abrasive. I'd recommend against using steel wool or something like that. At this point, if there are any rough or tough spots that you notice, scrape away. It's not a bad idea to just take that scraper around each of the cooktop rings, because that's where a lot of buildup often happens. Then simply wipe all that grime and cleaner away with a towel or sponge. The cleaners are usually meant to double as a polish, so as you're doing this final stage, make sure to wipe in a circular motion. Wax on, wax off, Danielson. So that's how you clean a glass ceramic cooktop, both the natural way and the store-bought cleaner way. However, what I just told you is a heavy-duty clean or a deep clean, and most people don't do that every day, myself included. They just do that whenever the stovetop gets particularly dirty. So on a daily basis, what I recommend is to use just soap and water or buy a daily cleaner. I'll also often use the scraper on a daily basis, but I'll never use that cleaner and polish on a daily basis. Here are a few more tips for the scraping steps, and then it's on to the next one. So for scraping, the most effective tool is going to be something like this, which is basically a plastic holder with a metal razor blade on the end of it. You can buy these things separately, Or what I recommend is the first time you go to clean your cooktop, just buy the little kit. It'll come with this razor blade, the cleaner, and the scrub brush probably. So you get everything you need all in one purchase. That being said, don't use the same razor blade forever. When your blade either chips or gets dull, you need to replace it. You don't have to replace the whole plastic thing, however. The metal blade itself can be replaced alone. Now, I must warn you that it is possible to damage your cooktop when using a metal razor blade like this. However, if you follow the tips that we're about to give you, you should be just fine. When scraping, if this is the surface, scrape like this.
And by this, I mean perpendicular to the length of the blade. If you scrape the other way, side to side, you could possibly scratch the surface.
Also, don't use the corner of the blade.
It could also lead to scratching. Lastly, remember that you don't have to push down that hard. If you push too hard, a piece of the blade can actually chip off. Ain't nobody got time for that. Just use some steady pressure with the blade roughly 30 to 60 degrees to the surface. You can tilt up and down to see what works best for you.
Of course, if you're a super nervous Nelly, you can always use a plastic scraper instead. You could use the plastic scraper on the back of a scrub brush, or you could buy a separate scraper like the one you see on your screen now. One other tip, a lot of spills will clean easier before they have time to harden. So try to clean when the spill is still warm but not hot. And if you do need to protect your hands a little bit, you can always wear an oven mitt while you're doing your scraping. That wraps up the ceramic cooktops. What about the electric cooktops that have external coils?